Hello everyone! Thailand, 15th century. The country is engulfed in war. When Tien was 10 years old, he witnessed the murder of his parents. Behind the crime was the brutal Rajasena, who betrayed Tien's father, a military commander. The boy, who was born well off, was forced to live on the streets and steal. He trained his strength and agility his whole life, dreaming of one day taking revenge on his father's murderer. But once he got as close to his goal as possible, the murderous tyrant managed to trap the boy and capture him. Tien has been shackled and is now being awakened to continue his torture. By the ruler's decree, he will be beaten with sticks until he stops breathing. Dozens of armed soldiers surround him to prevent the prisoner from escaping, but the fighter withstands the blows and does not surrender. His thirst for revenge empowers the young man, and in his rage, Tien knocks back the guards. He continues to skillfully fight back and uses chains to deliver powerful blows. The fighter disarms and knocks out the enemies, but their ranks are constantly reinforced. Hours go by, and just after the sun sets, the guy's strength runs out and his resistance is broken. Meanwhile, people who are sick with unknown disease are flocking to the monastery. The monks try to soothe and cure patients. Rumor has it that the poor folk have been subjected to a curse, and the spiritual Master Bois has gone on a journey to break it. The man meditates, and in his visions feels the suffering of Tien being bludgeoned. He also sees a mysterious man in tattoos using dark magic. To restore the balance of good and evil, the monk takes some of the dark energy and encases it in a leaf that falls into his palm. Then, he cuts off his hair and makes a symbolic offering to the gods. Meanwhile, the ruler Rajasena, at whose will Tien is being tortured, hears voices in his head. He recalls how he poisoned the previous ruler and took his throne. Before his death, the predecessor uttered the very words that now haunt the murderer. The nightmare continues, and the stone elephant pillars come to life, threatening to destroy the palace. Rajasena anticipates his demise and watches the royal court covered with dead bodies. Frightened, he wakes up. It turns out that the palace has indeed been attacked by rebels who wish to free Tien. When the guards begin to lose, a tattooed warrior, nicknamed Booty, comes out against the rebels. He overpowers and kills them all. The ruler wants to thank him for it, but Booty refuses to accept any reward. This offends Rajasena, who does not want to be indebted to a commoner, and he insults the fighter. In response, Booty hints that he knows of the ruler's recent affliction. The dark fighter assures that he can help find the source of the curse and points to Tien. Rajasena immediately orders to behead Tien at dawn. The next day, Tien stays motionless, chained. He makes no attempt to escape and hardly realizes what fate awaits him in a minute. He is already dying, but at the very last moment, the executioner is stopped by a messenger from the King of Thailand himself. He brings the decree for the boy to be taken from here. Reluctantly, the ruler obeys. The messenger frees Tien and takes the boy with him. Later, Rajasena gathers his advisors in anger. They suggest that there is a traitor among them who helped set free Tien. Suddenly, the ruler begins to hear voices and hallucinates that his own advisors are cursing him, just like his murdered predecessor. In a fit of madness, he draws his sword and kills one of them. This stops the episode, and the ruler notices a flock of black crows circling the palace. Tien, being unconscious, is taken to the monastery. His childhood friend Pim, whom he recalled under torture, finds him among the other patients. After the murder of his parents, the girl tearfully saw her friend off, and he promised that they would meet again. Suddenly, the monastery is attacked by rebel hunters. The monks valiantly fight back, throwing themselves under the blows of their enemies, and they manage to save Pim and Tien at the cost of their own lives. Tien's mutilated body is brought to a stone bed, where Master Bois performs healing rituals on it. Pim prays for her friend's health and asks the master if he will survive. Bois answers that the boy's soul has almost left his earthly form.
เหตุเกิดจากกรรมเก่าเป็นปัจจัยที่ทำให้มันไม่สงบ
However, he will try to perform rituals to purify Tien's karma so that he will be forgiven by the enemies from his past lives. To do so, the monks cast a symbol of faith, a statue of Buddha resembling the hero's features, and Pim makes offerings to the gods and performs ritual dances. Soon the boy miraculously regains consciousness, but his physical condition still prevents him from moving and using his limbs properly. Pim tries to help him stand up and dance with her, but Tien falls to the ground. His bones are fractured and his joints are twisted inside out. The guy loses his temper. At night, while everyone is asleep, he waddles through the village with the help of a stick. With anger and frustration, he looks at the statue cast for him, which is full of tranquility. The boy walks on, and with difficulty reaches the edge of the cliff. Tien is sure that he will be disabled forever, and wants to put an end to his suffering. He weeps bitterly before saying goodbye to his goal of revenge on the scoundrel Rajasena forever. However, the local madman, Min, notices him and says that he is going to jump with him. The guy tries to drive the man away, but he doesn't leave and keeps distracting the boy with his rambling. This is when Master Bois appears. He realizes that along with his dexterity, Tien has completely lost the meaning of life.
เพราะคนไร้สติอย่างไอ้เมนมันยังเข้าใจโลกนี้มากกว่าคนที่มีสติอย่างเจ้า
The master hints that there is more to life than fighting and revenge. He asks the boy to look at the rising sun, which has just appeared on the horizon. The presence of darkness always implies the presence of light. Tien goes into the forest, where he finds an abandoned temple. He hears his father's voice, who advises him to seclude himself there and enter deep meditation. As Tien meditates, the question of how to be a great warrior and whether to use weapons to achieve his goal is decided in his soul. Gradually, the boy learns to use his mangled body and repairs his broken bones. When Min and Pim find Tien, his movements are almost as fluid and agile as before. The girl teaches him to perform a sacred dance that requires flexibility and steadiness. They recall their childhood together in the palace, where they used to dance together. Back then, Tien was not yet a formidable fighter, driven by thirst for revenge. Pim is very happy to see back the boy who used to be her friend. Tien thanks Master Bois for helping him get on the right path. The monk advises him to turn future enemies into dance partners instead of indulging in cruelty. Tien continues to meditate and explore the dark corners of his soul in order to eventually achieve absolute unity of soul and body. His fighting style changes and becomes more like a dance. However, this does not make him any less of a formidable opponent. Quite on the contrary. Meanwhile, Rajasena, who has gone completely mad from the constant voices in his head, comes to meet Bhuti. The ruler wants his help to break the curse and makes his way to his underground lair, shrouded with roots. However, the dark wizard has different plans. Rajasena lunges at Bhuti with his blade, but the strike does him no harm. The ruler retreats and orders his men to attack, but Bhuti possesses inhuman strength and scatters the soldiers aside, breaking the stone walls with them. He soars onto the roof as if he has wings and dodges the spears. Soon the battlefield becomes strewn with dozens of fighters, on whom Bhuti brings down the remnants of the walls using magic. Left alone, Rajasena fires an arrow at the enemy in desperation, but Bhuti flies straight at him and decapitates the ruler. Rajasena's head, lying on the ground, curses the assassin, repeating the words that have been stuck inside it. The dark mage merely laughs in response. Dressed in royal robes, Bhuti sits on the throne and demands those present to pledge allegiance to him. The people welcome their new ruler. Tien is unaware of what has happened and continues to train. One day, Min brings him a guest, and the fighters suddenly get surrounded by soldiers. They attack the boy, but their attempts to get at Tien bring no results. Min, unknowingly, helps him win the fight. Having dealt with the attackers, the fighter rushes to the monastery, where a sad fate has befallen his friends. The troops of the new ruler have wrecked the place, and the people have been killed. Deeply saddened, Tien engages the remnants of the enemy army in battle. Their weapons are useless against his impeccable technique. After a bitter victory, Tien burns the bodies of his friends at the stake and shaves off his beard. As Tien prays, Master Bois appears as if out of nowhere and gives him his sacred staff.
เจ้าคือผู้ที่ถูกเลือกให้ต่อสู้และขับไล่อวิชชา
With gratitude and humility, Tien accepts the gift. In the meantime, Bhuti starts a huge construction, with people working in inhumane conditions. The wardens beat the workers with whips. Many die of exhaustion, and their bodies are simply dumped in a pile nearby. Among the slaves is Pim, who has managed to survive the attack on the monastery. In fear, the girl hides and sees people trying to topple over one of the elephants. They draw the animal's blood, which the dark ruler eagerly drinks. That's when Tien appears and demands that Bhuti stop with the atrocities. However, the dark wizard's power has now reached the point of being able to summon a solar eclipse. Day turns to night, and Pim is seized by the wardens. The girl screams for Tien's help, and a spark of anger flares up in his eyes. In his mind, the fighter sees a picture of Bhuti slitting the girl's throat in cold blood. Enraged, Tien breaks through the guards, trampling them with his feet and knocking the cavalry off the elephants. He is unmatched in pirouettes and dexterity, and any weapon they dare use against him is turned against the attackers. Not restraining his thirst for vengeance, Tien brutally kills his enemies, causing fear in those who dare stand in his way. He topples the giant bull that stands on the roof of the palace, and it crushes the ranks of the royal guard completely. Suddenly, Booty seizes his spear, and with a swift thrust, pierces through the fighter's body. He senses that Tien's heart is full of resentment and desire for vengeance. But all of this was just a figment of the boy's imagination, a hypothesis that made him think of everything ahead of him. To save his beloved, the guy will have to do things differently. He thrusts his staff into the ground and summons a lightning strike that strikes Booty and knocks him off his throne. The guards too are scattered to the sides, clutching their heads. The eclipse recedes, and Booty, lying on the ground, realizes that he has been stripped of his power. The dark spirit is now leaving his body, inflicting terrible suffering. Now, the fight will be fair, and Tien is ready to take it. This time, the guy fights without any anger, simply reflecting his attacks and using his opponent's emotions against him. His style looks a lot like a dance, indeed, which ends in a painful fall for Booty. But the opponent doesn't give up and finds vulnerabilities in the guy's technique. Tien is sent flying on his back, but he gets up just as calmly. Given time to attack, Booty lifts his spear from the ground and launches it into his opponent's chest. Tien grasps the blade, which seems to have struck him, but a drop of blood trickles only down his palm. The guy has caught the weapon on the fly and is ready to continue the fight. This shocks Booty, but he quickly comes to his senses and attacks. Reflecting the attack, Tien suspends his foe in the air on his fingertips. Booty hangs up in the air, trying to free himself. His efforts only result in him flying down and falling directly on a broken elephant tusk. The tusk pierces Booty's body, bringing his evil deeds to an end. Together with the survivors, Tien and Pim return to the monastery, where they pray to Buddha and pay their respects to the deceased. As always, look for the title of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. Do you think a calm mind in a fight is much more useful than anger and thirst for revenge? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.